It's been 8 months since my last video. So many unread messages, ignored connections, radio silence. It's like I've disappeared. What in the world have I been up to? Cyberspatial is now a tech startup. You see, creating good, consistent content and building a startup is really hard. If you were to list everything involved, there's tons of work, not to mention producing something good. It's like trying to look left and right at the same time. Imagine playing that one Defend Your Castle game where you have to fling attacking stick figures with your mouse before they reach your castle walls, all while you're trying to learn some song on the guitar. Eventually, you're gonna stop and focus on one. But why did I stop YouTubing, especially when it was on a roll? I originally started Cyberspatial as a way to make it easier for people to visualize cybersecurity concepts. A picture's worth 1,000 words after all. And YouTube seemed like a pretty good platform to do just that. But over time, I started to realize the problem was much, much bigger. How can you make cybersecurity more visual if there's not even a good way to see the domain? This isn't a problem on land, air, sea, and space. We've got imaging and mapping technology to make it pretty easy to see what everything looks like. But when you search for anything related to cyberspace, it's always some dark hooded hacker with a red padlock somewhere combined with some neon looking digital mesh. If you wanted to talk about anything in the cyber world, it usually involves some kind of network. But if I wanted to visualize, describe, or explain any of it, the only tools I really have are Wireshark, the command line, and my whiteboard. IT and cybersecurity practitioners spend hours and hours every single day reading network traffic, logs, and config files just to figure out what's going on. Imagine going in for surgery and the doctor whips out a whiteboard, draws a stick figure of you to use as a reference guide before grabbing the hacksaw and whiskey. And that's what lots of companies are doing right now. Just amputate part of the network when there's a malware outbreak. We don't have good network visibility to actually see what's connected and what's happening. Can you imagine trying to track everything that's happening in a video game using Kibana or grep? I wanted to see if we could solve this problem by taking the data we spend too much time reading and instead turning it into a useful picture to help IT and cybersecurity practitioners work faster and easier. So we went off to make Teleseer, a network mapping tool that can build interactive maps in seconds using data you already have. Fingerprint and track every device and visualize traffic flows from Spotify to Tor with no scanning, no agents, no download or install. All of this at a price people can actually afford. Originally, I figured it would be pretty straightforward to just pick up a new business venture and do some YouTube on the side. But boy, was I so wrong. Before the startup, my life was pretty chill. I could wake up, work out, learn about videography, focus on content creation, and maybe chit chat with other cybersecurity folks on Clubhouse. But now my life is super stressful every day. You see, the 3 daily startup struggles you've got to deal with are money, people, and product. This is a 3-way chicken and egg problem because without money, you can't hire great people to build a good product, which is what you need to make money in the first place. To break this cycle, we've had to find investors to trickle fund the idea.
You gotta be nuts.
Then reach out to our personal networks and beyond to scout out the right talent.
We got a grease man. We got a grease man.
Ocean's 11 makes it look way too easy. But once you've assembled a team, you go from worrying about yourself to worrying about your team and their families. You're constantly wondering if your project's gonna take off one day or crash and burn with everyone aboard. It's a huge responsibility, since you've convinced people to ride on your awesome adventure ship just as a massive tidal wave of pain is about to slam you in the face. So how have we managed to cope with the workload? A lot of folks will use the Eisenhower matrix to categorize their to-do list based on levels of importance and urgency. In my case, I've been grouping things based on the level of structure and impact. Structured tasks tend to have a predictable time it takes to complete. Things like emails, shooting videos, meetings with lawyers or investors, etc. I like to batch up these things together on the same days. Unstructured tasks like content writing, business strategy, product development can take an unknown amount of time, so I try to create completely free days to work on them. I'll also use the quadrant to categorize things with the most impact and attack those tasks first. But even with a productivity system in place, I still don't get to do the things I really want to work on. One of the biggest lies I fell for is that building a startup or business gives you freedom to do what you really want.
My friend, you can do anything if you put your mind to it.
The reality is, instead of wearing one hat, you end up wearing all of the hats. If we're talking about a hospital, you're both the owner, doctor, nurse, technician, and administration staff all at the same time. There's all this responsibility, but you've got limited time and energy to fulfill all of them. If you're intense, driven, or have high standards, life becomes miserable because you become your own boss. So I basically put myself in a position where I'm guaranteed to not be able to get everything done. In the book E-Myth Revisited, there's this idea that 3 business personalities live inside all of us: the technician, manager, and entrepreneur. All of them are opposed to each other. The technician lives in the present and just wants to get the work done. The manager builds systems, processes, and plans. The entrepreneur lives in the future, creating new visions and new ideas. I'm naturally more of a visionary and don't like to do detailed work or manage people and systems. But now I'm forced to switch roles constantly, so you never get to do what you really want. But my biggest struggle building a cybersecurity startup is health and wellness.
I'm getting like super bad migraines, can barely read anything today, so I'm going for a walk. It's pretty bad.
High volume and high variety of work for months on end means you're getting a lot of screen time. After staring at screens for 12 to 16 hours a day, I started to get lots of tension headaches to the point I couldn't read anything. Even thinking hard or listening to books would trigger them. All the usual advice like taking frequent breaks also stopped working for me after a while. I'd often wake up feeling super groggy and unrested and have to go straight back to work. You see these bags under my eyes without all the lighting? Headaches combined with low sleep quality turn into some of the worst migraines that would last for weeks straight. It'd be hard to focus my eyes on anything far away, and I could only work half as much as before.
I'm feeling pretty burnt out because it feels like there's nothing I can do about it. I'm eating well, exercising, getting enough sleep, but none of that seems like it's doing anything.
So what did I do about it? You see, our eyes aren't meant to stare at a fixed distance for long periods of time. It's like clenching a closed fist with the same amount of tension for more than a minute. Eventually, you're gonna get tired, even if you're an athlete. But if you shift to a squeeze and release pattern with variable rest in between, it's much less strain. So for the first time in my life, I picked up a TV and cast my screen to it, whether from a laptop, iPad, or phone. This way, I could alternate my viewing distance between close and far away. Also for the first time, I realized that I never got any migraines in the winter, no matter how much time I spent staring at a computer screen, even without a TV. That's because the air was colder and drier, so I slept deeper. But during other seasons, especially summertime, my room humidity would always be around 60 to 80% humidity. So I picked up a used humidifier to keep the room somewhere between 40 to 50% humidity. And these two changes have helped massively, though I still get headaches from time to time. A lot of other startup founders get stomach ulcers, hypertension, depression, and even diabetes from stress. I really hope it doesn't get to that point. So you might be wondering, if I could go back in time, would I do it all over again? The answer? Absolutely. You see, life is like a collection of projects scattered on a timeline in different patterns. Looking back, you might see some parts were rich and colorful while others were less so. And often it's those fondest memories that were the most stressful and hard. Before the startup, I was pretty comfortable, not really pushing myself as much. But with a new tempo and more projects than ever before, there's now more problems to solve, with each challenge forcing me to adapt and grow stronger. You could say building a cybersecurity startup is ruining my previous life in a good way. Because in 10 years, I can look back on a much richer collection of experiences than if I didn't do anything. Hopefully before that, we'll add more members to the Cyberspatial team. The business plays itself, and I can go back to playing the guitar. So what's in store for the future of Cyberspatial? Well, first, I'm planning on coming back to YouTube. There's been a ton of content that never got published and new ideas to share. All your amazing messages of appreciation in the past have been so encouraging for us. But now I want to grow with you guys, not just as a channel anymore, but also as a company. It's an open invitation to hop on a new journey with us. We're getting ready to launch Teleseer soon, and put it in the hands of IT and cyber practitioners like yourself. And right now, we need your help. I'm looking for 10 highly motivated beta testers to help us iron out a lot of the bugs and kinks in advance. We're giving out bonus perks, special discounts, and one-on-one time with our team for those who get selected. There's a link to an application form in the description below. So that's it for this video on building a cybersecurity startup. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with others you know. I'm coming back with more. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.